The Made in America label is more popular than ever. Shirts, suits, fashion, and more on this episode of The Language of Business.
Keeping the girls in place comfortably. How much sun are you getting? How can you track it? Where does POTUS go to buy the right suit? But first, made in New England with pride. This is The Language of Business with Greg Stoller.
Entrepreneurs often buck trends, but would you have the guts to invest in a 200-year-old manufacturing mill when all you read in the news are the merits of offshore cheap labor? Bob Kidder isn't fazed by these trends at all. He's the president of New England Shirt Company. And Bob, welcome to The Language of Business.
Thank you for asking me to be here.
5 years ago, in the height of a recession, you were an executive here at the company, but then you decided to buy it, even in the wake of all jobs going overseas. What caused you to make that decision?
First and primary most was that I believed in the people that made product here. The history of this factory, it's been here for a long, long time. It's been actively making shirts for 75 years. This is a life and a love for the people that work here. So the first and most important thing was I believed in the people. The second part of it was I've grown up in American factories. My parents were manufacturers. I believe in Made in America. I've always believed that we make beautiful product and that if it's marketed properly, that there's room, despite the price points, for people that appreciate American quality.
How did you finance it? Is it self-financed? Did you look for outside investors, or was it employee purchased?
That time period, as you correctly pointed out, it was a recession, and the SBA was looking for ways to help small businesses get started. So there was money available from the SBA. And then I went to a couple of different angel groups, and I was very fortunate to find amongst one of those angel groups a person local, which was somewhat of a prerequisite for me. I wasn't looking for venture capital money, because this isn't the kind of story that venture capital appreciates. But I was looking for somebody that wanted a local story, that cared about the jobs and cared about Made in America. And I was lucky enough to find one person that met all of those criteria. And the great part about that is he not only has been a great financial supporter, but he's become a very close friend. So it's a win-win in that sense.
And why high-end shirts only?
Price points, margins. First of all, American product is not inexpensive. It can't be because of the labor. We're a union factory under Unite, and I'm very proud of that. My workers, we pay above union wages, and we've got a very, very strong relationship with the local union, and we're very partial to that relationship. So I don't say that in a bad way, but I do say it in the sense that when you're competing with China, where it's $2.50 high end for a day, and we're paying, $11, $12 an hour, there's just no way that you can bring those numbers together without selling a higher cost product. We don't try to sell to Macy's, we don't try to sell to any of those people. We can't, but we do try to sell to better specialty stores, to e-commerce business, to Nordstrom's, to the better people in the market that can take the price point and do something with it.
And how about the designers? Are they also purely made in America?
You're looking at the designer at the moment. So the product is completely, there are no American fabrics. So that's not something, unfortunately, that we can take advantage of. All the fabrics come from overseas, but the ideas for what the shirts represent are certainly American. We pay attention to what's going on in Italy and in France and all over the world, because that's where great design takes place. But we incorporate that into what we think is appropriate for our clientele.
Where do you see your business in 5 years?
Growing. We have a lot of projects right now for Ralph Lauren. Yesterday we just found out that we're going to do the Olympic thing.
Congratulations.
Shirts for 2016. So, we're excited about where we can go from a growth standpoint. We believe in e-commerce. So I see us continuing to work with better stores, doing private label for them, because that's important. And I see us building and forming stronger relationships with larger people like Ralph Lauren and people like that.
Anything that keeps you up at night about your business?
Making product in the United States has to be a passion, because it's not easy.
What hasn't been easy about it?
Building something from scratch. I mean, the business had been here for a while, but basically when I started 5 years ago, I didn't have an order, and this year, between Trunk Club, which is one of our largest accounts and one of our best relationships, and Ralph Lauren and the specialty store business, we'll do 50 or 60,000 shirts. But that didn't take place in 1 year. It started with 100 shirts in Buffalo and grew because it was made in America, and then it grew a little bit more because it was quality and people liked the story. But all of those things require money. They require patience. They require time. and most importantly, the people downstairs, you know, the sewers, the cutters, all of these people, they believe in what they do.
Bob, thank you. Bob Kidder, the president of New England Shirt Company here in Fall River, Massachusetts.
Coming up, how much sun are you getting? How can you track it? But first, keeping the girls in place comfortably. Next on The Language of Business.
Entrepreneurs often hear less is more, and Melanie Berger believes that. Her company, Mari Wear, is revolutionizing what women wear when they want to get out of their bras, yet still feel fully dressed regardless of the time of day. Melanie, welcome to The Language of Business.
Thank you so much for having me, Greg.
Braless collection, what does that mean?
What that means is not just less is more, but nothing is better than what's out there. For wire, no wires, no fasteners.
What's the value proposition to your customer?
So the value proposition is all about being able to get out of your bra, yet still feel dressed, as you mentioned. So we have engineered patent pending design that allows a woman to be out of her bra, put on our garments, and still feel dressed, whether she's entertaining people, has teenage boys, working from home, or traveling.
Is this a technology play or a fashion play?
It is more of a technology play because currently there's nothing in the market that is designed as an integrated garment for women to get out of their bras.
Based on your website, it looks like you do a lot of trunk shows. How does somebody understand the technology if they're having to look at it online?
We have some very detailed information online, a diagram that explains what the inner garment is and how it's constructed with the no wires or fasteners. There's nothing like touching it and feeling it. So we are in retail locations, and the trunk shows do work well for that.
Where is it manufactured?
It's manufactured in New York. The fabrics come out of LA. They're printed and trucked to New York, and the manufacturing is done in the garment district of New York City.
Was there any particular difficulties in the sourcing of your components?
The fabric, for instance, took me quite a long time to locate. I am a pill Nazi. I did not want it to pill, I didn't want it to shrink, I didn't want it to wrinkle, and that took me 4 months to find the perfect fabric. The other components are challenging because, again, watching cost. But we have found great sources for everything that goes into the garment, and we're quite thrilled with our suppliers.
Do you consider LA to be the epicenter of fashion? Is that why you chose that as your hub?
It's definitely an epicenter for fabrics. So they have huge shows, as they do in New York, but there's a lot of fabric mills out in LA. I would say the majority of them are out there as opposed to in New York.
And do you do your fashion planning with your designers online, or do you frequently fly back and forth to LA?
Oh, we will definitely do FaceTime. This is an important component for the success of the company. So.
And how about the manufacturing out of New York?
Oh, quick drive, 3.5 hours, I'm there, and it's perfect. So we've got great communication and great relationship there.
How about margins?
Margins are tough, as you can imagine, when you manufacture in the U.S. So our margins we're working on by building our collection and our manufacturing volumes, and that will help us with our margins.
Does the U.S. label matter?
I think it does. And I was very adamant personally to keep it made in the U.S. We participated in American Field, which is done here in Boston and all around the country, and have been told many, many, many times that people are very sensitive to that. And when somebody walks up and sees on the tag, made in the USA, I immediately get a reaction.
Why Boston as the place to start?
I live here. I think Boston is the hub of a lot of innovation. I was part of the Mass Challenge Incubator program here, and a wonderful program at Boston College through their MBA school, and just constantly inspired by the people here in the breadth of knowledge and across all industries.
Would you ever consider relocating to a lower cost portion of the United States before going internationally?
For my factory, yes. I personally plan on staying here for a while, but we did a bake-off for the factories, meaning that we put it in a number of different locations and to see who would give the best output for the best price. We're very much about quality. We monitor everything very closely. I would consider other factories in the U.S. before I'd go overseas.
Tell us more about the collection. It's not just daytime apparel, it's also nighttime apparel as well.
Yes. My original concept was actually more for nighttime. It was lounge sleepwear. Little did I know the predominance of women who wanted to be out of their bras across many aspects of their lifestyle. So what I originally conceived as Lounge, Sleep, Rise as my tagline is now Braless Comfort and Confidence, because women want to be out of their bra, be comfortable, but also feel confident. I can be dressed like this, I'm in a bra, I feel confident, but maybe not so comfortable. So this bridges that gap between fashion and function. Well, our model, Ashley, put on our Paisley Cross Comfy, long pants, and our Great Wrap Me Up, which is amazing for just a layering piece you can take everywhere. She even took it one step further and tucked the pants into her boots. So I was really thrilled with the way she looks.
With or without a bra, what keeps you up at night about your business?
I'm definitely without a bra. I'm definitely in my Mari wear. And what keeps me up is trying to figure out how to address all of the, not just the financial challenges, but the opportunities. What I love is that women have worn it for so much more. I immediately started getting calls from people who are wearing it for medical. A huge following for people who are inpatient medical care and outpatient medical care. Resort wear, to and from the spa. So the use cases became much more evolved than what I originally perceived, which I'm thrilled. So I'm finding myself specialty market here, specialty market there, the mass market, and trying to figure out how best to take this and get it as a wardrobe staple in every woman's dresser.
Thanks, Melanie.
Thank you.
Melanie Berger, the CEO of MariWear.
Where does POTUS go to buy the right suit? And how much sun do you need? Our look at Made in America continues on The Language of Business.
Retailers are full of lotions to reduce exposure to sunlight. But don't tell that to Ed Likovich. His business is all about tracking sunlight in order to be healthier. Ed, welcome to The Language of Business.
Thank you for having me.
Why track sunlight?
We think of sunlight as part of the health triangle, which we call it. So people know about exercise. You're supposed to get 30 minutes a couple times a week. They know about nutrition. Sunlight is the missing component to that. It has an effect on just about everything that you do. Your wake, your energy, your sleep, how you feel. It actually has a huge effect on mood as well. So for people who suffer from depression, this can be a big deal.
How does it work? Is it a Fitbit for sun, or is it some other technology?
Yeah, that's a fair way to describe it. So I'm wearing a SunSprite here, and I'll walk you through the device. So the first thing is the way that it attaches. It has a flexible magnetic clasp that you can pull off and attach in the way that's right for you. A lot of people, men wear it on their shirts, and women tend to attach it to a purse strap or something like that. It's also completely solar powered, and you can see the solar panels on the front surface here. And no cords, no cables, nothing to remember. You just get your sunlight, and it keeps it charged forever. And then the thing is simple to operate. There's a single button that I press on the top here, and that causes a series of lights to light up. If it were a nice, bright and sunny day outside, and I was outside, it would all fill up, and it would do a little light dance. As it is right now, it was, not the best day for me in sunlight, and so there's very few lights that light up.
What is the optimal amount of sun then?
So it's about 30 minutes of bright sunlight each day. And if you can't get the absolute bright amount, which is considered 10,000 lux, which is on a bright sunny day here, even in the winter, you can get 10,000 lux. You can get a lower amount of sun for more amount of time.
What happens to the data the device collects?
So this is our SunSprite app, and this is the home screen, which is available on the iPhone right now. And so you'll see immediately there's a bright glowing sun in the middle that shows your daily progress. And you can see in the top corners here, there's a UV intensity and there's a battery level indicator, so you can keep track of both of those things. Right below it, this is something that users find very helpful, is it shows you the current intensity of light where you are right now, and the number of minutes to go that you need in order to reach your daily goal.
So is 64% means that you have 64% effective sunlight, or you're 64% of the way to getting your 30 minutes?
You're 64% of the way to your 30 minutes, so it's towards your goal. If you think of Fitbit and their 10,000 steps, it's very similar to that. You need your 30 minutes of 10,000 lux light, and that's how we track it here. We also have a number of tabs that you can see. So here's I clicked on the Trends tab here, and that shows you my daily progress. So you can actually zoom in over the course of a day and see, okay, what was I doing? Where was I getting my light? And you can see on the bottom here, there's a scale too that shows it's in green. There's kind of the x-axis is in green, and I'll show you a red area near my bedtime. If I scroll later, you can see that at the bottom there that it's actually red. That tells me green is good time to get my light, red's a bad time to get my light.
Meaning first thing in the morning might be better sunlight,
yep,
unless you're a late sleeper.
Yep, that's right. If you're a late sleeper, you want to get it when you wake up, if you're happy with your sleep schedule, and then you want to avoid the light before you go to bed. And then we have a fun little trends page where we have little badges and awards that you can win that keeps people motivated and excited. And we just had a guy from Australia actually unlock the brightest self badge, which we've never seen somebody do yet, so that's been fun.
The focus of our segment is on made local and bought local. Why have you established Boston as your base?
So I think Boston is one of the core centers in the U.S. for for kind of life sciences and biotech research. I mean, we have Harvard, we have MIT, we have BC, we have BU. There's just terrific universities around here. And the technology actually came from 2 Harvard psychiatrists. So, you know, there's people engaged with the battle against depression and for health in Boston. It just makes sense to be here around, you know, there's a huge innovation scene, there's a huge health scene, and I can't imagine anywhere better to be.
Boston might have a lot of innovation, but it's high cost. Does that factor into your decision making?
Sure, it does. And high cost comes with high quality. And so that's, you know, that's part of the reason to be here, is to have that quality of resources around. You know, having somebody who's a drive in terms of Connecticut or a plane flight away for our electronics people, you know, just, it's a 3-hour thing. There's no language barrier. We can get it right the first time we manufacture something.
Do your customers resonate to the fact that it's made in the United States?
Yeah, they do. A lot of people really like that aspect of the product. To them, it signifies quality. It signifies that there are people here that talk to you when you have a problem. And that's, you know, another big thing is customer service, is we handle all of that. And to have somebody write in and then have a response come back from a real human instead of a robot is a big deal for a lot of people too.
Do people give you a nod because it's Boston-based technology?
I think so, especially the locals around here. I mean, we sell more devices in Massachusetts, you know, on a population-adjusted basis than anywhere else. Having that personal relationship was really important to us. So it doesn't always come down to cost. You know, it's about that cost and that personal relationship and the confidence that somebody's there as a partner with you.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
Ed Likovich, the CEO of Goodluck's Technology.
A suit good enough for the president to wear when the language of business continues. Where does POTUS go to buy a suit made in America? You're watching The Language of Business with Greg Stoller.
He's a suit maker, and his suits are worn by corporate executives, ambassadors, even presidents. How do you get to that level? John Martinek, welcome to The Language of Business.
Thanks for having me.
You are the CEO of Southwick. How long have you been in this position?
I've been in this position 5 years now.
And where did you come from professionally before that?
Originally, I spent 28 years with the Hickey Freeman Company in Rochester, New York.
And what caused you to come to Southwick?
The ownership that bought this factory decided they want to invest in made in USA, domestic manufacturing. And they asked me to join this organization because I have a belief that there's ability to manufacture clothing in the United States.
What is the difference between Southwick and Brooks Brothers?
Southwick and Brooks Brothers are synonymous with traditional American clothing. Both very great organizations. Southwick has been manufacturing clothing for Brooks Brothers for many years, but both stand on equal terms based on the products that they make and who they sell to.
Do you only manufacture for Brooks Brothers, or do you also have other private label brands?
Well, we manufacture for Brooks Brothers predominantly. We also manufacture our Southwick brand, and we manufacture for a slew of different companies in the United States. A lot of designers or companies that want U.S.-made products. And we found out that there's a new niche out there for a younger consumer. And these younger consumers really are enamored with the products made in the United States.
And is that from social consciousness or something else?
More from social consciousness. And I think the younger consumer now, you know, they want to understand if your factory is green, if you're socially compliant, and they are more in tune with the manufacturing process than I was at their age.
Is English the only language that's spoken in your factory?
We speak 15 different languages.
15 different languages?
But we offer English as a second language 4 days a week. And we teach our employees English as best we can.
And how do you deal with the perennial 800-pound gorilla in the room that U.S. labor costs are higher than they are overseas?
They are higher. But the thing is that direct labor is a value add. Where it costs you more money is indirect overheads, things like that. And we use technology to help us offset those costs. It takes 185 minutes to make a jacket in the United States or in the Far East. It's just what you pay your employees. So knowing that, you know, they make a livable wage, they have good benefits, there's a value to it. It might not be for everyone, but a lot of people like the fact that they can buy their clothing made in the United States.
As a U.S. manufacturer of clothing, you are bucking a trend. Do you find it helps or hurts you not to have a peer group immediately surrounding your operations?
I don't think so. I think we compete on a global scale. It's not regionalized anymore. And I think what's happened, the world has gotten so small that, you know, you can talk to your retailers, so you can talk to manufacturers, you can talk to different people in this industry. And I think there's enough there that we can understand what we're up against, how we have to deal with things.
How do you deal with transportation costs?
Transportation costs, it can become difficult, but probably it's much better shipping here via UPS or FedEx than shipping it another method from overseas.
But let me push back. If you're importing from overseas, you might be ordering 500 or 1,000 suits per batch. My guess is that you're not sending that volume to a West Coast retailer.
No, you don't. But also what you can do by manufacturing in the United States, you don't have to buy 500 per batch. You can buy smaller numbers. I think that's our advantage of making in USA. So if you don't sell through all 500, that cost of carrying that inventory, is it really a savings or not? So I think that's where you kind of look at what the additional upfront cost is, as opposed to not having too much obsolescence.
As businesses grow, they've got two options. They can expand into other locations or outsource their workforce. How has that affected you here at Southwick?
Well, what has happened here at Southwick is that there's a reinvestment in young professionals. We know that this industry has been decimated by going offshore. Finding someone in their mid-50s is still a young person in this industry. So we've reached out to different colleges, engineering schools, and we're bringing people on board, mentoring them to be the future leaders of this industry.
If you had to start Southwick from scratch today, would you do anything differently?
Well, that's an interesting question. You know, and I think we've had a very good recipe with what we've done. It's always changing. So I think the only investment or change that we'd probably do is in our mindset, because you have to keep an open mind. In manufacturing in the United States, it's all about what you can do and not say why you can't do it.
And what's an example of what you can do?
We can do anything. That's our philosophy here, is if you can think it, you can do it. And that's what we live by.
John, thank you very much.
Thank you.
John Martinek, the CEO of Southwick, here in Haverhill, Massachusetts.
Thanks for watching The Language of Business, a weekly look at success stories for entrepreneurs, locally, regionally, and internationally. Join us again next week as we decipher the ABCs of finance. For more entrepreneur tips, resources, or to add your voice to the discussion, go to languageofbusiness.biz.